The next year is going to be challenging for many sales teams. Turnover is expected to be high, and sourcing the best talent will be challenging. So I'd like to share a SAR, Situation, Action, Result, of mine that might spur some ideas for your situation. Sharing our SARs is just one way we will bring ideas for challenges. So this situation that I found myself in was being hired by a life sciences company to build a training program for 58 countries. We were challenged with training the current sales reps and managers. A lot of them were bench tech scientists and had no sales experience. Some of those had to be replaced because they just weren't happy in sales. We had to find new sales reps to replace them, and we looked for people with experience. We still had to meet or exceed our goal for the first year and exceed our goal for the second year. So what was the challenge? Retention of top talent, attract top sales talent with experience, hiring away top sales reps from competitors, improving morale during the changes, and motivating, creative, and productive sales team. So I was reading an article in Forbes that I thought might be appropriate here. More than 30% of employees believe they will work someplace else in the next 12 months. More than 40% don't respect the person they report to. More than 50% say they have different values than their employer. More than 60% don't feel their career goals are in alignment with the plans their employers have for them. And more than 70% don't feel appreciated or valued by their employees. So why are they talking about leaving? What reasons are they giving? Well, in that article in Forbes by Mike Myatt, M-Y-A-T-T, number one, he said, you failed to unleash their passion. You failed to challenge their intellect. You failed to engage their creativity. You failed to develop their skills. You failed to give them a voice. You failed to care. You failed to lead. You failed to recognize their contribution. You failed to increase their responsibility. And you failed to keep your commitments. Those are the reasons that was given to them as why people want to leave, change jobs. So what did we come up with? Because we were having the same issues back then. It wasn't that we were going to have high turnover because of the market. It was because we didn't have the right sales team. So what did we do to change that? We came up with an LMS, and we built it ourselves because we couldn't find what we wanted. And our LMS had to work in 58 countries. We developed about 160 courses as of when I left in sales and science for products. We had online courses and in-person courses. And then we developed an online transcript. So their online courses couldn't be longer than 15 minutes of reading time, 15 to 20, and then they would get a quiz. They had to pass all the quizzes, and if they didn't pass it, they could reread it, take it again. The in-person workshops were one district or two districts, so 8 to 15 people in a workshop. We developed online transcripts, and we did that so that the sales reps knew how they were doing with their training, knew how well they were doing with improving in the field, and knew how well they were doing on quota attainment. We developed field coaching reports so that the sales manager could sit down with the sales rep when they were doing ride-alongs. And the sales manager would always start out by saying, what went well in the calls this morning, or what went well in the last call. The sales rep is usually trying to give them a problem. They say, no, what went well in the call? And then what can we do better next time? Usually by the end of the day, they'd sit down and they'd have 5 or 10 things that could be improved for that sales rep. And they had to pick out 1 or 2 and develop a plan the sales rep would implement over the next 2 to 4 weeks. And then what was the manager going to do to support them? And they would write up that coaching report and file it. And as long as the sales rep kept improving, it was a positive coaching report. If the sales rep didn't make any attempt to improve, which rarely happened, it was a negative coaching report. Then we developed a career path, because if you remember right, they felt like they had nowhere to go. Out of over 100 sales reps just in the U.S., I think we had a handful of district managers and even fewer regional managers, obviously. So there wasn't a lot of upward mobility. So we developed a sales career path where they had 4 levels that they could work their way up in. We started out with new hires, then we went to sales rep, then senior sales rep, and then executive sales rep. The senior sales reps had to have certain quota attainment, certain coursework done before they could ask to be promoted to senior sales rep, or their manager would promote them. Executive sales reps had to do all of that, but also had to be ready for promotion to district manager. The career path was our way of getting them engaged. We also had to come up with a way to deal with all these new hires we were getting. You had to get these people trained on their sales computers, on the systems and processes that we used for sales reps. We had to teach them our sales skills courses, and we had to do product training with them. And then during annual global meetings, we had to come up with development of additional training. We developed our own online courses and we developed our own videos. And then we facilitated the annual sales meeting. Then the last thing we did was we developed a sales and marketing online group where the sales reps could communicate with sales management and with marketing, and the marketing could communicate with the sales reps in the field. It was a big hit because there were competitive information and it was just great. So what were the results? We filled, I think, 95% of all open sales positions, including the ones where we had to trade out sales reps. The sales teams felt like they were growing. We were getting great results because of the career path and because of the training programs. So we had decreased onboarding time and the sales reps were getting up to speed quicker. We increased the sales reps' success rate. Most of our sales reps were actually at or above quota. And we increased success of new product sales. So when we did a new product training, we did online training for what they could read. We did a workshop for when we had to bring them in to do in-person training, including marketing and R&D. And then every 2 weeks for, I think, 6 weeks after the workshop, we would follow it up with a video call for each district. We would ask them to be ready to tell us what went well and what didn't go well. We came up with this because we realized sales forces have thought leaders and followers just like the rest of the population. When we realized that thought leaders were going in the field and actually trying what we taught them, and the followers were actually going in the field and saying they were too busy, they didn't have time, it didn't work, we had to come up with a way to get it better than 20% success rate in a workshop or less. By implementing the follow-up calls, the thought leaders would tell us how great the product worked, and the followers would be a little put off when they had to say that they either didn't try it or it didn't work. But the 2 weeks later, we got a much higher involvement rate because a lot of those followers were not going to get embarrassed again by saying it didn't work when these thought leaders were raving about it. And after about 3 or 4 of these follow-up calls every 2 weeks, we actually, the one product that we started this on, we sold out of it within, I think, 6 weeks. So we did successfully combine 5 sales forces into one. We did successfully create one sales force and management team. We did drastically decrease the cost of hiring, onboarding, and training sales reps, and we met our annual sales goals. Now, how did we do against Mike's list of 10 reasons people were leaving? You failed to unleash their passions. When they found out they could get promoted to senior sales rep, they may get a nicer company car, they would definitely get a bump in pay, they would get a business card that said senior sales rep on it. That seemed to motivate them. When they realized that we were committed to their succeeding, that motivated them. We actually had one sales rep tell HR that that's why he was staying there, was because he felt the management team was behind him and had his back. He failed to engage their creativity. By putting these people in contact with marketing, by exchanging marketing information, they felt like they were actually sharing in the process. When sales reps got to senior sales rep, they got to help train new hires for the district manager. They felt like they were using their creativity. And when they got promoted to executive sales rep, they were still helping train, but they were also ready to be promoted. We used them as sounding boards. You failed to give them a voice. I just explained. We used them as sounding boards. The online group actually helped them have a voice. And then having the sales managers sit down with them, the sales managers were listening to the sales reps. The sales managers were asking the sales reps what they did right and how they were going to improve. And it really motivated them. And that showed them that we cared. It showed them that we're leading because the sales managers were being taught to go out and coach them following ride-alongs. At the end of the year when we had to do reviews, it was just a roll-up of the coaching reports. The sales reps loved that because they saw the coaching reports as the sales manager's commitment to them succeeding. You failed to recognize their contributions. We just covered that. You failed to increase their responsibilities, senior sales reps, executive sales reps, and you failed to keep your commitments. I think we covered all of their commitments. Well, I hope you get some ideas out of it. I'm sure this isn't going to work for everybody, and when we did turnarounds on smaller companies, we would scale this down and scale it up depending on the situation. Just take a look at it and see if you get some ideas that will help you make 2022 an amazing year for your sales team and yourself. And I hope you have only bright, shiny eyes looking back at you in 2022.